Okay, let's get to the meat. Actual real world examples of errors, and I won't say thinking because the error is not thinking. Uh, Errors in reacting or lumping things together, and also keep in mind how how hard this is to change, which also means it's hard to change others. So it's probably to your benefit if somebody comes up and totally challenges your worldview to not argue with them. You aren't going to persuade them. You're this tiny data point, and very probably, as soon as you disagree with them, they lumped you into that category in their head of invalid people. He disagreed with this. He's wrong about everything. So you're really wasting your time. You have to really engage people, find common ground, and get out of that group, or you can't get there. So let's talk about COVID. Here's a fun one, and I'm not going to get into what I think based on the data that I've gathered or what have you, but let's talk about the solid beliefs that may not be rationally founded. That you have people who totally afraid, belong to their group, their herd is all about, we're going to protect each other. We're going to wear masks. We're going to get vaccinated. We have to stay socially distanced. This thing is horrible. It's gonna kill us all if we don't do something about it. And we've got to do what the experts are telling us. Everything's great. And if we do that, and everybody who's not doing that is trying to kill everybody. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying but they didn't get there through looking at science. They got there through groupthink. This is going to hurt your feelings, but there's another group that got there just as invalidly through groupthink, and that is that this is a conspiracy. They're trying to kill us. Masks are going to hate me, but your herd doesn't wear masks. So you don't wear a mask because your herd doesn't do that. And I'm totally convinced that this is a political thing that's trying to destroy us. The vaccines, literally, people believe the vaccines have stuff that talks to satellites, talks to the government, magnetizes you, is going to kill you. And again, not saying that any of that's necessarily false, but I'm just saying they didn't get there by studying it. They got there because their herd told them that. And these can get very extreme. Probably the facts are somewhere in the middle, but I don't want to get into that because I'm not going to persuade you one way or the other. But I just want you to be aware that as sure as you are that I'm in the right place, keep in mind the other side is just as sure, and sadly for the same reasons. Very, very few people are basing it on empirical data. They're basing it on what they heard, what social media said, what was reinforcing their model, what was their tribe, because we don't want to think. And this is probably one where we really should, but it's tough. People have lost trust. The 2020 presidential election, we got rid of this guy. The masses rose up and spoke, and they're surrounded by a peer group that tells them that's what happened. The election was stolen. There was massive fraud. There's no way that many people voted for this guy, and that's what their herd tells them, and they're completely convinced. Again, not necessarily based on empirical data, but because that's what their group says. That's what fits their world model, and neither side can even comprehend that the other side makes any sense. Also, a real fun one, kind of before the election, was what they call Trump derangement syndrome. It was fascinating how people who didn't really dislike Trump, as soon as he started running for president on the wrong ticket, oh, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a homophobe. In spite of tremendous data to conflict, Orange Man Bad was so effectively pushed using the group think. Believe me, there are people who understand this and very deliberately use it. That people can be manipulated surprisingly easily. Modern communication makes it possible to do it on a very large scale. But let's talk about the election itself. Where you land on it, be sure you're basing it on data. Look for data. Look for facts. Avoid prejudicing that fact by, because that's another fun thing we do. I can find data to support that the election was stolen. Lots of it. I can find data to support that there was no malfeasance at all. And because of my biases, I'm going to pick one of these when I see data that says, "Aha, these ballots were rigged," and I immediately go, what? Oh, that's great. That supports my model. It was stolen. It was stolen. We've got these people that say, no, this is what really happened, and that video is misleading. Whoa, okay, that supports my model. The election was legit. And neither person is is really looking at all the data. They're just looking at the data that they want. They're looking for things that support what they already had decided. Be aware of that. It's frustrating if we're going to make better decisions and better judgment, things that require thought, which not everything does. But if something's important and it fits into the scientific realm, or actually should be based on data, be sure you're basing it on data. All the data.